Hello, welcome to our session today, Practicing Mindfulness. So we're going to explore the benefits of practicing mindfulness. We're going to cover some real basics around what mindfulness is and how we can do it. And I think that for some of us, mindfulness can feel like this big thing that we know that we should be doing, but we might find it really hard for different reasons. It might feel a bit overwhelming, and we might feel like we're not doing it right. So, the session today is about making it accessible for all of us. This is a great reminder for me as well, how important mindfulness is. So, what we're going to do is cover some nice simple activities that you can take away and apply to your daily life. And even if you take one thing away from today, that will be wonderful. That will be a real positive. So please don't feel like you need to perfect mindfulness. Don't feel like you need to get everything right. It's really about approaching it with curiosity. In fact, curiosity is one of the key essences of mindfulness. It's about that openness and open mind and curiosity to the world, as well as applying that to mindfulness and ourselves. Okay, so hopefully that softens the space for you if you've come with a little bit of apprehension or resistance, but maybe you've come completely ready to embrace mindfulness. Maybe you've already got lots of experience, or you might be completely new. You're in the right place. I always like to say that. Welcome. So my name is Stella, and I'm from Soul Space Unlimited. That's the name of my business, and it's all about creating space for people to connect with their soul, which really just means, to me, it's about connecting with our true self and what matters. So maybe stepping back from the busyness of, the work can feel quite intense, the busyness of the modern world, whether that's sort of what's going on externally in the media. It might be our smartphones, which will come up in the session today because it's such a pull from mindfulness. It might be overstimulation from our phones. There's a lot going on in life, isn't there? Distractions, our thoughts, there's always something. So what I do in different ways is support people to slow down, to take a pause, and to find really accessible tools to do that and to reconnect with ourselves. That's where the soul comes in. If our heads are completely full, if we're busy doing all the time, and we don't have a moment to stop, and that sometimes that's not physical action, it could just be in the mind, our energy, our mind might be going. We don't have a chance to really tap into ourselves and hear our instincts and what we really want. And that, to me, that is, the soul space. So you might have joined sessions with me before. I do EFT tapping and also Qigong on here, as well as a few other sessions in the past. And I'm mentioning those because we might do a little bit of tapping today just to bring us into the groundedness and let go of any resistance that might be there to the practice of mindfulness. And also, I mentioned Qigong because Qigong is a wonderful, moving, mindful meditation. So mindfulness doesn't always have to be sitting still doing a meditation. There's different ways to be mindful in our life. Okay. So what you need for the session really is just yourself, and ideally a quiet space that you can relax in, know that you won't be disturbed, and that will help you be as mindful as possible. I would really encourage you to have a drink, a refreshment. I'm sitting here with a glass of water and a cup of nice tea. So I encourage you to make sure you're nourished, you've got what you need. And pen and paper is always useful. It might help you with some of the activities we do, whether you're taking notes for later, or one of the activities, we're going to explore thoughts, and sometimes it helps to write them down. Not necessary. If you haven't got pen and paper for whatever reason that doesn't work for you, then it doesn't matter. It can be adapted in any way. So, mindfulness. It has become, in some ways, a bit of a buzz term in sort of Western society. We know that it's good for us. Most of us know that. If you don't know anything about mindfulness, that's absolutely fine too. But there's a lot of messaging that we benefit from it. We know that it's good for us. There's growing research into it. So mindfulness, there's quite intricate history that I won't go into in terms of who brought it across to the West. I'll just say that it originated in Eastern philosophies, and it's been noted as coming from particular Buddhist traditions. But it may have been practiced in other traditions too, but it is generally associated with Buddhism. And it's become something that we've developed as a very sort of common everyday activity. So now it's not necessarily connected to any spirituality, any beliefs. Mindfulness can be practiced as something in itself. It doesn't need to be a wider or a deeper spiritual practice. So I think that's one of the reasons it applies. It has grown so much in societies that might have less religions. So it's something that a vast amount of people can connect with and find benefit in, without feeling that they need to go into sort of more deeper beliefs. But it can also be connected to beliefs as well. So it's very versatile, and it's about how you want to apply it in your life. So you'll get a sense of that today if you don't already. Okay, and in terms of some of the benefits of it, well, no, we'll start with what it is. That's a good place to start, isn't it? So mindfulness, what is it? Well, it kind of says it in the title, mindfulness, in a way. It's a good explanation, description, but very much it's about being present. So it's about embracing your present moment. So often we might be thinking about the past, worrying about the future. The approach is that we can't do anything about those things. The past is gone, the future hasn't yet happened. We are only ever here in the now. And when we embrace that through the mindfulness practice, there's a lot of belief and evidence that that is incredibly beneficial in many ways, as we'll mention in a moment. But it is about that sense of being in the now. Okay. And we can lose a lot of energy throwing it into the future, trying to control things that haven't even happened. Somebody once described it to me as like it's like throwing spaghetti or shadows at a wall. You know, we're thinking about the future, but we're not necessarily getting anywhere, and we're just draining our energy. And similarly, when we're thinking about the past, we're losing sort of energy. It's like we've got holes in our energy bucket that are going into the past. When actually, when we bring our energy into the now, so we bring it from the future, we bring it from the past into our body right now, it is energizing and it's healing. In my experience, this is some of the work that I do with people and myself. We can do an exercise on that as well together, just to give you a bit of an idea. And it's also about increased awareness. So being more aware, turning up our senses, engaging with the environment, and it's about that presence. So that might look like instead of reacting to a situation, this is a big benefit of mindfulness, instead of reacting to a situation, which is what many of us do, if we haven't got that self-awareness or that ability to regulate our emotions, we'll find ourselves snapping more at people, getting more aggravated with like traffic, for example. Or if somebody is reacting to us and might be being a bit aggressive or short with us, and I don't mean really aggressive, I mean, because obviously that's not acceptable behaviour, but I mean if somebody has that energy, you know, instead of just reacting and biting back and quite often making things worse, with practices like mindfulness, when we do them regularly, they help us learn and have that space to pause, to not react, to watch our desire to react and choose not to, for example. So that's something that happens when we practice it more. Mm-hmm. But it's also a big part of it is, so our thoughts, obviously we have a lot of thoughts, so many thoughts a day, and we get to be able to watch those thoughts. You might have heard before someone describe it as, it's like there's a sky and there's clouds across the sky. So those clouds that drift across the sky can be seen as our thoughts. So if you see this as your thoughts, you can see they're just like the weather, they're going to pass and they're going to leave. So we're not attached. It's practicing non-attachment to the thoughts. Our thoughts don't define us. We are not our thoughts. Imagine if we were. Every single thought that came through our head. We're only human, so we have thoughts as well that are imperfect and are flawed. It doesn't mean that we're a bad person. It doesn't mean that we're a failure. So getting the idea that we are not our thoughts. Thoughts just come and go like the weather. That's a part of the practice too. And I'm sure that you can see how beneficial that could be for us. It's also about connecting with the sensations in the body. So with mindfulness, we might do things like a body scan, becoming aware of how our body feels and how our body might be reacting. So it's good to know there's different ways into mindfulness that we're going to explore and cover together. So if one of them doesn't work for you, like some of us might find it hard to connect to our body and our sensations for different reasons. Sometimes people have a numbness and aren't connected to their body. Sometimes there's a history of something like trauma, and that makes that area really difficult. That's okay. You can still access mindfulness in a different way. So please be assured of that. And with that in mind, through our session today, keep yourself safe. Choose what you'd like to do. If there's anything that feels not right for you, then leave that part and do some of the other stuff. It's an invitation just to use this session in a way that's helpful for you. But sensations tell us a lot, and connecting into our feelings, how they're moving around our body, what's coming up for us, really helps us to remain mindful in the moment and less reactive. And our environment, it's about being more present in our environment, taking in our settings. Again, this engages sensations, engages the senses, which will come into some activities as well. So you might already find that mindfulness is more than you realized, or you might be thinking, yes, that's exactly what I thought it was. And there's obviously a lot more to it as well. That a sort of a traditional mindfulness Buddhist teacher would be able to share with you. But we're just doing an introduction today to give you some basic tools, and you can go and explore more if you want to. There's lots of further resources out there. So there's said to be 3 C's of mindfulness. We've mentioned one already, that's curiosity. So approaching life with an open mind, not deciding we know everything, really allowing ourselves to be curious and open. Curiosity, I think, is an incredibly important word for all areas of life. I use it a lot in my sessions with people, and when I do my own sort of mindfulness or connecting practice. Curiosity really helps us open and not believe we have all the answers. Compassion. So having compassion for ourselves in the moment is so important. We tend to beat ourselves up. It's very easy for us to, well, maybe not easy, but it tends to be easier for us to show compassion and understanding to other people. Sometimes harder to show it to ourselves. We're all different. That might not resonate for you, but it resonates for a lot of people that I work with. And part of mindfulness is bringing in self-compassion thoughts, like, I'm only human, I don't have to be perfect. When you think about all those thoughts that we might be judging in ourselves, mindfulness gives us the space to be like, maybe I don't have to get it right all the time. Maybe it's okay to just be okay today, or to get it wrong, or whatever it is. And that's another really important part of mindfulness, non-judgment. So whatever comes up for us in our body, the sensations, the emotions, whatever comes up in our mind, we're approaching it with that curiosity, that compassion, and not judging. So we don't want to fix it. We don't want to make it right. We don't even necessarily want to logically understand it. We're just trying to accept. Trying might even be not the right word, because we want it to be not a pushing. We're just sitting in this space with what's there, with as much acceptance as we can. And the other C is calmness. So that's part of what we covered about being able to step back and not react. The more we practice mindfulness, the more we will have calmness and relaxation. Our mind will tend to be clearer. We may notice a difference in our body. We all know what it feels like when we're carrying stress. We're more tense. Sometimes it feels like a pressure build-up. We all have our own tells about when we are stressed and we're not, quite balanced. Some people get migraines or headaches. Some people get tummy pains. We've all got our thing. It might be feeling tired, fatigued, or irritable. So the more we practice mindfulness in our daily life, and it is a practice, we can't just do it once. It's something we do have to keep doing, but that can be in tiny little incremental steps. So it doesn't have to be an hour a day. It can be really small, just to reassure you. But the more you do that, the more the benefits filter out into your life. So the benefits, we've already started covering them, but less stress, feeling more relaxed. It can help to improve relationships. And I don't know if you saw the EFT session we did on relationships earlier this week, but it's on the playlist. I encourage you to hop on if that's an interest of yours. But the being more calm, being more open, being more compassionate, of course, it helps our relationship with ourselves and with others. And it improves our quality of life. It can improve our sleep. It can give us more self-awareness, and it gives us the ability to regulate our emotions more. So feeling less overwhelmed, feeling less like you're being pulled in different directions by your emotions, and actually having the space, as we said, to step back and choose how you react, regulating those emotions more. So if you're not already convinced by all those benefits, um, then we'll continue. But I'm sure you are, because I think that's what we all want: a better quality of life, feeling more calm, less overwhelmed, feeling more relaxed, and being more present. Sometimes in a busy modern world, particularly when we've been going busy for a long time, the sense of stopping and pausing can be really uncomfortable. And if you have any resistance to mindfulness, it might be related to that. So sometimes when we're ignoring the sensations in our body, when we aren't engaging with the feelings or even the thoughts, we're kind of on this busy train. When we do stop, initially, it might be uncomfortable because there's that sense of sitting with some sensations we've not sat with for some time. But the practice of mindfulness is kind of like a process or a structure that can help us do that. And the more we do it, the less uncomfortable it is, or the more comfortable we become with the discomfort. I hope that makes some kind of sense. That's my interpretation. Okay, so different ways to engage in mindfulness in your life. So there's more formal forms of mindfulness, and these might be the ones that can feel a bit less accessible for us. Not necessarily, it depends on your situation, your interests, but things like meditation, so mindful meditation, that somebody might do that practice for a long time, throughout their life. For it could be 20 minutes to an hour a day, even more maybe, or it could be less. There's great mindfulness apps that we can engage with now that are just like 5-10 minutes a day. So there are ways to make it more bite-sized, but it is that stillness, sitting still, doing the mindful meditation. Some people have a meditation teacher or go to a group, do things online, or use these apps as mentioned. It might be a good starting point before you find your own way. But that's a more formal kind, and obviously there's all kind of benefits in that. But today, I think we will focus a bit more on how to integrate it into your everyday life, how to do little steps that might feel a bit more easier to get used to. So the other one is more informal. So that's things like going about your daily life and making the conscious choice to be mindful about what you're doing. So it could be picking up a cup of tea or coffee and just noticing how the cup feels in your hands. So usually we'd probably just do this and put it down. But for the mindfulness practice, we would just feel all the sensations, how the cup feels, the material. Is it warm? Is it cold? And we might smell. So if your tea or your coffee's got a smell, we can really connect to the smell. And in that process of bringing it to your mouth and what it feels like when you drink in that liquid, feel the warmth, if it's warm, going down into your tummy. All of those sensations, when we break it down, there's a lot going on, and it can really bring us into the moment. And it helps us feel gratitude as well. So when we slow down in mindfulness, we can turn up our sense of gratitude for what we're experiencing, and that is really good for our well-being as well. Other ways to do mindfulness informally: if you're out on a walk, if you're out in nature, then you can connect with what you see around you. You can really take in the senses. It might be the temperature, the weather. Is there a bit of sun or wind on your skin? How does your body feel as you move in that space? Can you feel your feet on the ground? Or if you're using a wheelchair, how does your body feel in the wheelchair? Just really connecting as much as you can. So, again, not rushing through your day. It's about taking little pockets of mindfulness where you pause and you just notice that gentle awareness. Mhm. It might be if you're busy at the computer, you take a moment to stop. You take some nice deep breaths, you feel that breath going in, going out. That's actually another practice. It can be a formal one I didn't mention, some breath exercises. That can be a mindful practice too. Um, okay, so that's a sense of the informal, and we will explore that more. I think that there's a sense of how it can become a routine. So initially, when we do things that are different, they can feel a bit strange, a bit more clunky. But the more we do them, the more normal they become. And sometimes they become so automatic. It's just like brushing our teeth or making a cup of tea. So that's what we want ideally. And there's an essence of that daily appreciation and that gratitude we mentioned. So observing thoughts is really useful as well. And I mentioned Qigong. So there's other ways to do mindfulness, like moving. There's movements, there's practices. Things like yoga could be very mindful. Yeah, so there's lots of different ways. But we are going to start engaging a bit more practically. So we're going to just do some gentle EFT tapping to see if we can let go of any resistance we might have to this, just in case you have any. And then we'll go into some really simple practices that we can do together and you can take away. Okay, so if you're new to EFT, we're just going to go through some tapping points on the body and we're going to speak. So I'll speak and you can repeat after me. So these points are meridian points around the body, and we're going to be getting your energy flowing as we do this. It helps with relaxation. It helps to move energy. All that sounds a bit strange to you. That's okay. Remember the curiosity we mentioned with mindfulness. We're coming with an open mind. So yeah, just go with it as much as you can. You might have already experienced it with me or somebody else before. So tapping the outside of the hand, doesn't matter which one. I want you to soften your body as much as you can. Okay. Nice deep breaths as we do this to help that energy flow. And repeat after me. Even though part of me doesn't want to pause, part of me does not want to sit with my feelings. My mind won't stop going. And I know that I need to stop. I know that mindfulness will be good for me. But I do have some resistance. So I just want you to tune in to what size that resistance might be. For some of you, it might be like 1%, might hardly be there. For some of you, it might be 50%, or it might be 80%. Just tune into there's a part of you, because we have so many parts to us. There might be a part of you that obviously you're here. So there's a part of you that really wants to do this, but there also might be another part of you that's not so sure. Why haven't you done more mindfulness before, for example? Nice deep breath and repeat. And in this moment, I choose to be curious. I choose compassion. And I choose calm. Even though part of me is unsure about mindfulness, I know that it's good for me, but it's hard to believe it will work. And sometimes it's hard to do it because I don't want to sit with my feelings. It's easier to distract myself. And in this moment, I choose curiosity. I choose calm. And I choose compassion. We'll do it one more time. Even though I know mindfulness is good for me, And part of me wants to do it, but maybe I have some resistance or some disbelief. Will it really work for me? Sounds like hard work. And in this moment, I choose calm. I choose more compassion. I choose to be kind to myself. And I choose curiosity. I'm only human, and I'm open to giving this a go. We're going to tap the top of the head. Nice deep breath. Will mindfulness really work? In our eyebrows, just where your eyebrows begin. I feel like I should do it. Outer eyes, where the temples are. But part of me thinks it's too much hard work. Under the eyes. Part of me thinks that it won't work for me. Under the nose. And I choose to be curious anyway. Under the mouth, just above the chin, so we're just tapping. At this point, taking nice deep breaths. I choose to be curious about this. We're going to tap soft spot under your collarbones on both sides. Nice deep breath. I have some resistance to mindfulness. Part of me can't be bothered. Part of me thinks it's too hard to sit still. And I choose to be kind to myself anyway. I'm going to tap under the arm, so either side is fine. It's just on the side here. So just under the armpit, if you go down, if you wear a bra, it's where the bra strap is. Just tapping on the side. It doesn't matter how hard or soft you tap, whatever feels right. Nice deep breath. I should do more mindfulness. But part of me doesn't do it. Can't get into the habit. I don't know where to start. It's too hard. Tapping the wrist. And I choose to be compassionate to myself. It's not always easy trying to slow down. I choose more calmness because I deserve it. And I choose to be curious about mindfulness and about myself and about the world. So we're going to tap either side of the thumb, just where the nail bed begins. I know it's quite bright, you can't see that too well, but just on the side, like so. And then when I say next, we do the next finger. So nice deep breath. I should do more mindfulness. Next finger. But part of me thinks it's too hard. Next finger. But part of me wants to do it. Next finger. That part brought me here right now. Next finger. And I'm curious about that part and learning more today. Well done. So with tapping, as I said, we're moving a bit of that energy. Sometimes it brings up thoughts or feelings. So if you do have a pen and paper, you're very welcome to just take a moment to note anything down, anything that came up for you. So you might have realised that you do have a bit of resistance to slowing down. You might have clarity around why that is, or not. There's no right or wrong. But sometimes it's good, just to clear a bit of that resistance or tension that might be there, so we can enter into the practice a bit more. I'm somebody that shares mindfulness tips and tools with clients. It's a part of the work I do. It's a part of my life, as I mentioned, with the Qigong and the way I choose to live my life. But we're all human and we all get caught up. And I have days, where I get caught up, it's busy doing, lots to do, and I forget to take my own medicine. And goodness, do I notice the difference when I come back, when I stop. It does something that we don't expect. So when we've got lots to do, we think we have to get on with it. We haven't got time to stop. When we do practice mindfulness, it actually opens more space. It's this kind of strange thing. It's hard to explain, but it opens more space. It seems to create more spaciousness and more time in our day when we do stop and we stop rushing. It's almost like the environment and time responds to us and how we choose to live. So you may find, and I'll be very interested to hear in the comments, you may find the more you do practice mindfulness, the slower your life becomes, the more time you seem to have. And it's time for doing the things that you want to do and you enjoy as well. It's part of that pause and stepping back. Okay, so we're going to connect with the environment a bit more. So this is a really great way to practice mindfulness. And I love to be really clear that a few minutes is better than nothing. A few minutes is enough, especially if we do those few minutes throughout the day, like little pockets throughout the day. It's helping to reset the system. It's helping to show our mind and our body how it can slow down and stop. Because we've been conditioned, we've learned to live our life in a certain way. We can remind ourselves to let go of some of that programming and almost reset ourselves a bit. It is a skill. Mindfulness is a skill that we can develop, but it's something that we all have a right to, because we came into this world as babies completely mindful, completely in the moment. And as children, you watch a child playing, having fun, living out there, playing games, having, not worrying about a to-do list of so much responsibility. And there's something very free, right? A child tends to be in the moment, and they can teach us a lot about being in the moment too. But you can see at some point, as we grow up and we become adults, we lose that, but we can get it back. Okay, so I want you to get as comfortable as you can and to begin to take in your environment. So first, just look up and look around. And then, because that's probably what we usually do, and then I want you to really examine what you see around you. So this is a space you probably see all the time, every day, assuming that you're in your own home or a very familiar space. But this time, I want you to look up again and to look around really slowly. Examine everything you can see. Take note of the shape of the objects. Take note of the colours you can see. So begin to look up and around. Notice the height of the walls. Notice the colours. You might notice how the light falls and how it creates shade or spaces, moments of light. What objects do you see and what shapes are they? What materials can you see? And are there any objects that are particularly appealing, that get your attention? And are there any objects that are particularly unappealing, that you think are really ordinary or a bit ugly? As you examine even those objects, you might find some beauty in them. So around me, I can see plants, and I'm noticing the plant pots. There's a blanket that's been folded very badly by me, and I'm noticing that. The light is coming in through the window. There's a lot of wood in this room. I'm seeing the texture and the patterns in the wood. And I'd like you to begin to connect into some other senses as well. So what can you feel in this room? What's the temperature like? Can you notice that temperature on your skin? Is there a smell to the room? And what can you hear? Can you hear traffic outside? Can you hear your neighbours? Can you hear a television in the background? Can you hear the sound of birds or the wind? What can you hear? And you can notice like your body and how it feels in the chair that you're sitting on. You might be laying down, whatever position you're in. Might notice the sensations. We are going to do a body scan a bit later, so I'm not going to go into that too much, but that's absolutely a mindful practice too. Remember, connecting to the breath can really help as well. But just taking in our environment and focusing in on some things that we usually just take for granted, walk right past, barely notice, the more attention we give them, the more mindful we become, and also we can appreciate these things more, these everyday objects. And you can do that exercise anywhere. So you can do it sitting at home, you can also do it out and about. So if we're out in a busy environment, sometimes it can get a bit much, can't it? So I'm not a fan of crowds or going to a busy city. So when I do, I can find it a bit much, and I could sit there and do this practice. I might find a bench or even just a moment. But it's kind of like taking your power back instead of letting the overwhelm just completely drag you away onto that sort of overwhelmed train. You can pause, take in things. What can you see? Oh, there's all these people around you. You can always look up at the sky, because as well, when we're in a busy place, quite often we might be looking down. But you can look up, you notice the sky. What bits of nature, what bits of calm can you find in that space? It might be something really small, like a tree in the distance, or some clouds, some birds overhead. There's always a way to pause and to be a bit more present. Okay, so you can practice that every day for a few minutes. 5 minutes of that is great, it's plenty for you to start embracing that practice in your life and noticing some benefit. Obviously, if you do it more, even better, but that's a nice simple one. And the next one is thoughts. So this is one that comes up a lot, and this is one I'd like us to do some journaling on if you've got a pen and paper, but remember, if you haven't, that's okay too. So I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Remember what I said about taking care of yourself and only doing the practices that feel comfortable, that you feel safe to do. So I'll let you judge that and be responsible for yourself. If you need a moment or to sit anything out, you just do that. And with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine a sky. And this sky is blue. It's a lovely day. There's no clouds in sight. It's a clear blue sky. It's almost like a blank canvas. The perfect amount of sunlight, not too much, not too little. And I want you to imagine that a cloud begins to appear, and on that cloud is a thought. And that thought is one of your thoughts. It might be one that's coming to you right now. It might be a thought that comes up regularly, like a worry, an anxiety. Maybe it's a belief or a way you talk to yourself that might not be very kind. So, for example, it could be, "Oh, I didn't do a good job. I got that wrong." Or it might be, "Oh, I really need to do more cleaning." As an example, it might be that to-do list. It might be, "Oh, I really need to contact that person." There's so many thoughts we have throughout the day. So just think of one that comes up for you a lot, or is coming up for you today, and imagine that written on the cloud. And allow that cloud to float across the sky, all the way across. And then it begins to float even further, and it gets smaller as it begins to drift away. You can watch it become a dot and completely disappear. We're going to do it again. So imagining another cloud coming up, and put a different thought on it this time. Or perhaps if that thought that you just did is so prominent, you can do it again if you want to. Or another thought, pop it on the cloud, imagine it floating across that sky, and see it floating away into the distance. You can do this as many times as you need or want to. Yeah, it's really good to imagine it really getting so small it's like a dot and you can no longer see it. And remember that a part of that practice is you're not judging the thought, but if you do judge it, try not to judge yourself for judging it. Right? We're trying to meet ourselves just as we are. So you observe this thought come across, it comes and it goes just like the weather. We're practicing non-attachment, which means we're not identifying with it. We're not clinging to it. We're not trying to fix it or figure it out. We're literally just letting it pass. Remember, we're not our thoughts. Yeah, we're so much more than our thoughts. The thoughts will come and go. It's how we choose to act and what we choose to act on. Thoughts don't define us. Okay. So that's a practice, really nice and simple and powerful that you can do. But also to expand on that, if you want to, with pen and paper, it's really good to name these things, right? It's good to give these names. It's good to give these thoughts that are bothering us and niggling and chipping away at our calmness. It's good to give them a name. So you can write down, again, it could be the same thoughts you just worked with, or it might be other ones, but you can note down on paper. If you don't have pen and paper, you can just do this in your head or remember this activity for another time. But we can write down one of those thoughts now, just to give it that tangible presence. Mm-hmm. And when you've written it, I want you to look at it. You can say it out loud, whatever that thought is. And you can say, this thought is just a thought. I am not my thoughts. And it's a bit of fun. You can take that bit of paper. So if you've written it, just you can cut it or rip it. So you're not wasting unnecessary paper. So you can get that word and you can scrunch it up. If you can ask somebody else to do it for you. Scrunch it up and just throw it. So again, we want to recycle, right? You can throw it into the recycling, throw it into a pile and recycle it later. But just chuck it, see that sense of letting it go and that physical action of writing it, reading it, scrunching it up, letting it go. You can say the thought out loud. You can say, I let this thought go. This thought doesn't define me. Whatever you want to say. I choose calm. I choose curiosity. I choose compassion. Throw it onto that pile. You can do that as many times as you need to. That's a really nice practice as well, just helping us to observe our thoughts. And then they have less power over us. Sometimes when we're not aware and we're not conscious, our thoughts and our emotions have more power over us. But mindfulness helps us become more aware, more conscious, so we can make choice. We're empowered to sort of be in the driver's seat more. And it's a smoother drive. And the next one, the last one, I think that we'll do today is body scan. So with the body scan, again, remember what I said about making sure you're comfortable, you're safe, because this isn't for everybody, but it's a very gentle practice. You can go into this scan as much as you want to, so you are in control. And we'll just do an example together. You may well be familiar. This is used a lot in different practices like yoga, or different meditations, or even just relaxation groups. Quite often we'll start with this kind of thing. So if you're comfortable, closing the eyes helps because that helps us connect to the body and bodily sensations. And we might start at the top of the head and beginning to do a scan. So going down the head, down the face, noticing your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw. You can even notice how your tongue's positioned in your mouth. Noticing your neck. How are you holding your body? Is there any tension? So as we do the scan of awareness, remember we're trying not to judge. We're just noticing. And as we do that, it may mean that we notice some tension, some pain, some discomfort. Sometimes we tune in with the body and we become a bit more aware of what's there. So I encourage you to soften into that with your breath. So try not to tense up. A big part of this practice, any practice that is helping us connect and feel better, I believe, is that softness. So as you breathe, take those breaths, soften the body. Even just a few percent is enough. Send that breath into those places in your body that need it, the tense areas, the tight areas. And continue to scan down the torso, focusing on your tummy. And if we have any issues like IBS, pain, bloating, discomfort, really common issues, part of your practice is to meet your body, to meet those sensations as they are without making them wrong. Try and meet them with compassion. Can we meet even the parts of us that are causing issues and that we don't like with compassion? And then send your awareness back up and across the shoulders and down your arms, all the way to your hands. And you can spend as much time as you want here in your own practice. The palms, the fingers, even the space in between your fingers. And each finger has a unique fingertip, fingerprint. Appreciating that. You can see how the practice helps to unfold your appreciation for being human, for being here in this moment. As strange and mystifying and difficult as it might be at times, when you bring yourself into the moment, it really helps to find some appreciation or even just acceptance. Sometimes appreciation and gratitude are too much. Acceptance, maybe we can meet a bit more of that. And sending that scan all the way across, we can go into the hips, the back, that spine, all the muscles, down the hips, the glutes, your thighs, softening, scanning through the knees, the shins, your calves, to the heels of your feet, to the soles of your feet, the balls of your feet, and your toes. You could even give your toes a wiggle and see how that feels if you can. And if when we're doing the scan you have any body parts that you can't connect with for any reason, the power of the mind is very powerful, so you might be able to imagine it. And you can allow that scan to float back up, reaching every part of your body, every cell, every organ, every joint, every muscle. You can even imagine your breath is flowing and sending lightness and healing, expansion to all of those places. But even more, you can tune into the real presence of your breath and what it feels like just to breathe. So you can feel that breath in and out of your nostrils. You can feel the rise and the fall of your belly, your diaphragm. And as you do this, you might tune into what's around you, any sounds, any sensations. And if it's quiet, sometimes the hum of quiet gives us a sensation in itself. See if you can find a bit more spaciousness inside you as you do this practice. And I'd like you to just notice how it feels for you to have done that scan. Do you feel different? Do you feel calmer? How do you feel? And if you are somebody that is sitting or laying there feeling frustrated or aggravated because you can't switch off, remember, it is a skill, it's a practice, that it's not your fault. We've been brought up and conditioned as we've got older in this modern hectic world to keep going, going, going. So it's not your fault. There are ways to change it. So if you find you're doing that scan and you just can't switch off your mind, that's okay. Try not to make it wrong. Remember, non-judgment, and you can use the sky. So you can imagine the thoughts as clouds. You can use the paper technique. That could help. But part of the practice is it's not about not having thoughts. It's about noticing them and bringing yourself back to the present moment, to your breath. And we can keep doing that as many times as we need to. It's not a failure. It doesn't mean you're getting it wrong. In fact, it's a key part of the practice. Okay, so just to go over those techniques. So I know we did a bit of tapping to try and let go of resistance. Just tapping and breathing. You don't need to remember all the points. Even just tapping on one point like this might be a nice way to help ground and bring you into the moment. But we focused on looking around the environment. So just wherever we are, noticing what we see, noticing what we hear, what we feel, textures, sounds, sensations, smells, all of that stuff. What can we feel on our skin? We can do that anytime, just a few minutes is great. And then the thoughts exercise, which we just mentioned, so I won't go into it, but non-judgmental, watching the thoughts in non-attachment, letting them just go by. And the body scan. So we did that very quickly, but even that is, that can feel more doable, can't it? So you could just, in bed in the morning, you could just do that before you get up, for example, whenever you find that sweet spot in the day to do your practice. There are meditation apps and things out there that you can access for free, I'm sure. So that's really good. But you can come back to this as well and do this to help remind you if you need to build your confidence a bit and go over some of the tools. But you can do this body scan for yourself and just bring yourself back to the breath, to the moment as much as you can. So well done for coming with an open mind. I appreciate you. And I'd love to hear your comments and your feedback. But I'd also love you to set an action for yourself. So from this, I'd love for you to set at least one small action that you can take starting today and practice daily for like at least a week to introduce mindfulness into your life. So it might be doing that body scan for 5 minutes. It might be doing the environment, or it might be the thoughts or something else. Maybe you want to find your own way into mindfulness and research and find something else. But I'd love to hear one action. I'd love to know that you're going to set one action. Feel free to share it in the comments if you'd like, that you are going to do to introduce more mindfulness into your life. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing the session today and for joining. I hope you got some clarity and sort of golden nuggets on the benefits of practicing mindfulness. I hope you're inspired to. I know that it's been a great sort of rejuvenation of the power of mindfulness in daily life for me as well. So I'll be doing even more, and I'm looking forward to that. So wishing you a lovely rest of the day. Take good care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you soon for another session.